Perhaps the question or the questions that have puzzled me for most of my life, and are probably the same questions that puzzle each and every one of you, that continue to puzzle the wandering, the seeking minds till this day. They're essentially a set of questions which ultimately mean the same thing. They are asking the same thing and eventually lead to the same answer. And those questions are: who are we? What are we doing here? What's even this? What is existence? And the reason they mean the same thing and they lead to the same answer is because after a very long time I've come to understand, to realize that we cannot be separated from existence, that the creation and the creator cannot be separate. And whether you arrive to this realization through modern sciences such as quantum physics, or through theology, or through ancient civilization teachings since thousands of years ago, like the Hermetic sciences or the ancient Kabbalah mysticism, or even more Eastern ancient civilization teachings, it does not matter, because they are all saying the same thing. It is all the same answer, except it has a very different image, and of course the approach to which they have arrived to, and this answer is different. And so this question was the initiative that led us to seek out all of the knowledge that we have arrived to at this day. It was the birth of knowledge. So it is the birth of the sciences of philosophy, psychology, theology, so on and so forth. And I mean, it's easy to see why this would be the first question to pop out in the mind of anyone who would come into this life, and would lead them to seek out all of those answers through all of those different disciplines and fields of seeking. I mean, it is the longest standing question since ancient civilizations, since even prehistoric times. But it was also the birth of separation. Both the separation among humanity itself and the separation of the creation from the creator. It is the birth of this illusion that led us to forget who we truly are. It is the birth of the individuality of the ego, that this is me and that's you, that I belong to this community and you belong to that I belong to this sect and you don't, that I am better because my answers are better, because I have a better approach which is more plausible or measurable, and you rather have to rely on this and that to make sense out of life. It caused this tear among humanity. Wars were fought over such a question, and the only reason they failed to see it as one answer, they failed to remember their oneness, which eventually everyone is going to remember, everyone is going to understand, to realize that the whole point of this life is to remember, is to awaken to our oneness. But the reason they rejected to see it from that perspective is for ego-praising purposes. Because you see, once someone arrives to such a grandiose realization, they want to claim it all for themselves. And they want to look down on whomever wasn't able to arrive to such an exact answer using the same exact approach. And then they want to look down on whomever isn't willing to adopt it. And that's why this topic is a sensitive one to me, and I was reluctant for the most time to share it, not just with you, but even among my friends. You know, in my last video I mentioned that I was going to make this video. Something popped out about this topic and I was reminded, and I said I was going to make a video about it, but I thought maybe later, you know, after several videos. But then I realized the urgency, I realized how important it is, I realized that this could be the most valuable thing I share, and if I'm not to share it, then what's even the point? But the thing is, people tend to shy away from the esoteric nature to things, and would rather even explore spirituality through more practical means, if that's even a thing. And you know, another thing is that what I'm going to be saying might even sound as if it's contradicting what I often share in my videos with all of you. But if you would consider everything I'm sharing as means to an end, then the end is just the realization that there's no such thing as an end point, that there's no such thing as the absolute ultimate truth. Because, you know, I myself, I've pursued that absolute truth for almost a decade. Especially for the first 5 years, I was in constant straight on pursuit of what is and what is not, and what is the absolute truth, that it gave me so much suffering. It even gave me depression, Because you can imagine, I was just shedding so much of myself, all of those self-beliefs that I thought do not belong in the absolute truth, all of these definitions that I used to make sense out of life. And although I was learning new things and I was replacing many of the things I was letting go of, I was seeking all of the answers through all of the disciplines, like astrophysics, to theoretical physics, to metaphysics, to theology, to philosophy, to psychology, eventually to spirituality. It just wasn't filling the gap at first. There was this gap that was left open because I was letting go of more than I was letting in. I was not arriving to that absolute truth. And eventually I arrived to understand that there's no such thing as the absolute truth, and that it was all as real, and that it was all meant to be, and it was all part of my purpose. And that's why it might sound as if I'm contradicting what I normally say, because my videos are normally about how to do this, how to manifest that, how to figure out this, how to change your life to the better, how to align with your dream life, how to shift your reality, how to find your purpose, how to know yourself more and the world around you through understanding your subconscious and letting go of what your fears. But in truth, it is all part of your purpose. Because what I realized is that the truth is not in seeking it out. That enlightenment does not happen unless you let go, unless you stop the seeking and just be present. And in this presence, you are meant to find your way. You are meant to remember who you truly are. If you just let go of the good and the evil, of the good and the bad, of the positive and the negative, and you're just being, the verb being, human being as in a verb, not as a noun. Eckhart Tolle has a whole book written about why being present is your path to enlightenment. And I mean, that's for very good reasons, because when you are truly present, you're not attached to the past, you're not expecting anything from the future, and so you lose attachment to your ego, because the ego is always living in the past or in the future. It wants to let go of this, it wants to regret this, it wants to revenge this, and it wants to do that in the future. And once you detach from your ego, now you're more open to remembering your true self. Now you have more space for your true self to be inspired, to come to you intuitively. And that's always going to be in your highest good. And so being present, if there's one best lesson that I've learned from my journey, is to be present. However, if you understand, if you realize that, if we know that this life is just the manifestation of our higher self, that everything is in a constant exploration journey, that there's no good or bad or absolute or negative or positive, but just it is an exploratory journey, that it is just the manifestation of our higher self, and it's only meant to lead us back. One way or another, everyone is going to come to realize our oneness, is going to unite, understand that this whole life purpose is about oneness. And so no matter what is happening, it is meant to be. And so you cannot, if you cannot believe that God works and lives through you, unless you believe that God works and lives through everyone and everything around you. And that's why no matter what is happening, you are meant for your higher purpose. You are aligned with who you truly are. But just there might be some things you need to listen. So that person who might have hurt you, or that experience who might have caused you some harm or pain, and you thought it might be redirecting you from your focus, it's pulling you away, relapsing towards your ego, it was meant to be, because it is only meant to redirect you towards your purpose, towards your true authentic self, because it's all the work of God. God is in everything. This conscious, pure conscious energy, intelligent energy, is running through everything. However, so just as you are manifesting this life, as you experience it, it is a continuous being process. If you choose to manifest it through the negative, if you choose to manifest it through sadness, through pain, through regret, through fear, through despite, then it's only going to keep being that. Then you're only going to recreate that. And that's why I believe that the microcosm of things is very important to the macrocosm of things, because unless you come to realize this by yourself, no matter who would say it to me, no matter who told me that if I heard this, that the end point is just, there's nothing such thing as an absolute truth, but it's all just part of the truth, I would not have believed it. I would not have felt it the way I feel it if I've not arrived to it by myself. And that's why the microcosm of how to manifest this, how to manifest that, because you can choose. Like I was saying, it is the manifestation of your higher self. Yes, ultimately you are meant to remember who you truly are, and everything you go through is helping you to let go of something that might be blocking you, to learn something that might be needed for you to realize. And that's why you can manifest better, that's why you can align better, that's why you can do things that make you realize your purpose better, to understand yourself better. But that could all be summed in just being. If we just know how to be, to learn how to be, which is what life is all about, the manifestation of our higher self, the continuous manifestation of our experiences, of our exploration journey. Alan Watts have a peculiar and interesting way of putting this, how it is always a being, it is the verb being, human being, rather than the noun. And he says if someone would look at Earth from outside, they would go like, this Earth is peopling, this planet is peopling, just like the apple tree is appling, just like the apple tree apples. And people like Baba Ram Dass and Alan Watts often have a unique way of putting things into perspective, because they have awakened in the Western society only to venture into the ancient Eastern teachings and perspective of things. So they have both perspectives, they understand from both point of views, from all point of views, and they know that it is all the same thing. And that's why they are very good at explaining it, at showing how it's all the same thing, and the separation is just an illusion, and it's an ego construct, a collective ego construct. And that's why in just being present, you are able, if you just choose one thing to do, and it's to be present, it means that everything you experience, you're just experiencing, you're just being through it, you're not reacting to it. You're not, because reacting, it means that you are thinking about something it's going to cause in the future, or something that it did to you in the past. But if you're just being present, truly present, then eventually you're going to lead yourself to remember who you truly are. And then you're going to come to this realization, oh, it was all part of that, my purpose, that there's no such thing as the absolute truth that I'm trying to reach to. And that's why if what I normally share is means to an end, then the end is just the realization that there's no such thing as an end. But that's also why it's very important for me to keep sharing what I normally share, because just like I showed you, just like I said, in this manifestation, you can choose to experience life through whatever and cause yourself more suffering than necessary. And eventually everyone is going to realize it. Just like quantum physics has shown that the same energy that flows through the stars is flowing through us, and it's flowing through any solid object around you. No matter how solid it might seem, it's actually vibrating, and it holds the same subatomic particles as you do, as the stars do, as the ones in the universe. It is thought of as it started with the Big Bang, and it was one dense ball of energy, and that's why we have the same energy flowing through everything in existence. And while that is okay, but it's generally believed by modern science that energy is non-conscious, it is just non-intelligent, it is just that pure vacant, that empty vacant energy void, and it just gave us our structures, it gave everything it is structure. However, there is something which is called dark energy. It is also known to hold this universe together. Dark energy or dark matter is what space is mostly composed of, and it's believed that it is what's holding all of the planets together, all of the stars together, everything together. And without this dark energy or dark matter, which is 70 or 90% of space, I don't recall perfectly, and they don't know what exactly is in this dark energy. It's just dark energy, and it's holding this universe together. And without it, everything would fall out of alignment and out of circulation. Similarly, in Hermetic teachings and Hermetic sciences, the Kybalion teachings now has said thousands of years ago that everything has the same energy, that everything is energy, and that the same energy flows through each and every one, which means that we are one. And that the source of energy, and that there's the source or God that holds everything together. And that's only one thing, because even nowadays neuroscience has shown that you can't change your life by just thinking it, by just visualizing it. That you can change everything about yourself by just being it in your mind. And why is that? That is, this whole reality is the manifestation of our higher self. That this is just the matrix, a 3D reality, the Maya that is created in our higher dimensional being perspective. There were plenty of studies in neuroscience with all of those brain scans and measurements being taken when people access higher brainwave states in meditative states. The alpha, the theta, the delta, while they're being awake. They just go in meditation and access those states. They train them and then they do it. And for 7 days, there was one study in which they just visualized themselves lifting weights for 7 days. They would access the theta, and they would tell who would be able to actually do it, because they would know that they actually entered into that theta brainwave state. And after 7 days, their muscle mass has increased by something 14 or 15% by just living it in their minds. I mean, what more proof could it be that everything is happening in the eyes or mind of God? Even more than that, people have gotten rid of those such nasty diseases by just visualizing it in their minds, by just aligning with it. And it's all proven now in neuroscience and through quantum physics that it's all a frequency that you just have to access. Because we're all just energy. And just like that, even in the ancient Kabbalah mysticism, they mentioned this exact concept. They mentioned that we are energy and that this dark energy is God. And they explain it as dark energy. And it's what's holding everything together. And even in Sufism. And now in neuroscience, just like you can do everything you want, just like you can be anything you want, you can create whatever reality you want. Go on, for example, on Dr. Joe Dispenza's page on YouTube, and there are thousands of testimonials. People have completely created miracles, completely shifted their lives just by meditating and visualizing that thing, by living it, by not being attached to it, by not living, by not doing anything, by not putting effort, by not trying, by not thinking about it, by just being it. And that's exactly what it means, that everything is created through the manifestation of our higher self, thousands of years ago, mentioned in Hermetic sciences. And even before that, or after that, I'm not sure, in Hinduism, the Maya, which is the aspect of our God itself, of our source, in which you actually create whatever experiences you want to by just being it. So it's all just about being. It is the understanding that we are all one. And eventually we are all going to realize how we are truly just one. How everything comes to a single point and started from which it actually started. And that all this is just a game. and that it's not required from us to suffer through this game. But no matter what happens through it is ultimately leading us to our higher self, to remembering. And that's why, even when we mention the ascension, it is not an instant process. It has been happening. There is a shift. The shift has been going on all of the time, because you are imagining more higher vibrational frequency experiences over and over, continuously. The more in our version, the more we realize things are possible, the more we're able to envision them, the more we are able to visualize, to believe in higher frequency vibration, in higher vibrational frequency of emotions, of thoughts, of actions. Now we believe in love. Everything that is happening is if you observe it, it's pulling us together. Although it might seem as if it's pulling us away from each other, it is actually pulling us together. All of the separations, because it's making us, through that contrast, through that extreme contrast, we are going to awaken to the positive of things. We are going to realize that it's all absurd, that the separation is just an illusion, that what we're meant to do is love more, is to be grateful for each of others more, is to be joyful more, is to live lively and freely more, and not be bound by all of these constructs and all of these things, because they're just a facade, they're just a show that's being put to pull us together, to pull us closer. And just like that, everything is the same. Everyone is reaching to the same answer through a different approach, and they created the illusion of separation over this differences in approach. And eventually it's going to come to the realization that it's just one, it being the creation and the creator. And that's why I'm very grateful for being able to share all of this with you. If you liked my video, if you're enjoying the video, if you learned something, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because your liking is going to help push this video, is going to help this video actually find its way to many others who might actually need it. Thank you for tuning in to another video by AF's Conscious Frequency.